What is going on, Odds Squad? Just Bleed MMA, and we are back yet again with another installment of the Odds Whisperer, where we get into any and everything odds related, from opening odds to line movement to trying to figure out, do you need to pull that trigger today, tomorrow, right before the fight? We try to anticipate everything. We try to figure it out. We try to crunch these numbers, and we try to hit the odds at the absolute best line. You guys know what I'm talking about. And we got another banger. UFC Vegas 7. We got Pedro Munhoz versus Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar finally making the highly anticipated move to bantamweight. So, we got an interesting one here. Fairly decent card. I think we got some good spots. Probably a far better betting card than last week. And we don't got time to waste. So let's get right to it, boys. So, first fight of the night on the card. Another one that, I got to be honest, if you had to ask me, I would have thought this one would have been more of a contender series fight. But we seem to have a thing going on where we're getting quite a few fights that probably should have been on Contender Series, getting the bump up to the big show. And I think this fight falls right into that. So we got Matthew Semelsberger versus Carlton Minus. So both guys, obviously UFC debutantes, getting in there trying to make that impact, you know. We got Matthew coming in at 6-2. 27 years old. Both guys are 27. Both guys are welterweights, and it looks like Matthew's going to have a few inches of height, and we don't have the reach yet on Carlton Minus. Let's start digging in. Let's see what Matthew Semi has done. All right, so he's training at a Clinch Academy. We got him. So he won his last fight. You're going to need to win your last fight making a UFC debut. Very rarely, if ever, have we ever seen a guy lose a fight and get into the UFC. Crazy, right? So beats Richard Padishnock with a first-round KO. That'll get you the call-up. That was in February. A win over Chris Gratalo in November of last year. Then, oh boy, we got a name here. We got a split decision win over Zulkarnian Kamchabikov. Wow, I don't think I got that one, but that's as good as we're going to get it. Before that, we got an L to Jerome Featherstone. That's not good, man. I mean, Jerome was 0-0. This guy was making his pro debut, and he knocks him out in the third round. Really not a good look for a guy. I mean, that's not even 2 years ago. Previous to that, we got a win over Scott Noble, a 1-2 guy, and then we got a loss to Darren Costa, a 3-4 guy by Darshchuk. So a little bit concerning. A couple losses, even on the amateur level. We got a loss to William Knight. William Knight's pretty good, though, a guy that's currently under a developmental deal with the UFC and the Contender Series. So he's been submitted. He's been knocked out. So this guy, you know, he can lose in a multitude of ways. I mean, he's getting a split decision over a 2-0 guy. I mean, I got to keep it real. This is not the most impressive resume. I'm going to absolutely guarantee you. This is a guy that, were we not in a pandemic, probably would not be getting his shot, but we need fighters. They called him up. Hopefully he shows up on Saturday. So, clutch Carlton Minus. Could be Minus, but I'm going to go with Minus, and I'm betting he's going to be a minus something favorite. So, because, I mean, let's look at this guy's record here. So, last fight over Sean Ellis, 12-3 guy, Alaska FC unanimous decision. Takes an L to Rick Story by rear naked in the second round of the PFL 2018 season. Now, I do believe this was the regular season. I don't think he made the playoffs because he didn't fight after that. I mean, a loss to Rick Story, and that's really the only blemish on his record. Not the worst loss you could take. I mean, Rick Story, a 20-9 guy, a UFC veteran, a guy who had some really solid wins and looked really good in his UFC tenure. You know, not a shameful loss whatsoever. Previous to that, we got a win over Justin Buckles, current head coach, I believe, unless they've switched it up at Team Alpha Male. But Justin Buckles, a 16-10 fighter. He's one of those guys. He wasn't the best fighter, So let me give coaching a shot. Previous to that, we got a win over Colin Reuter, 15-4 guy. And I mean, look at this. Previous to that loss in PFL, this guy's only fought, exclusively in Alaska. And, Alaskan guys have not fared too well. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but, man, whoever that Serbian guy was last week on Contender Series kind of broke the trend with an incredibly dominant win. So maybe myself and a few of my cohorts, maybe we are being a little too judgmental. Maybe we're knocking these Alaskan guys a little too much. Maybe they do have a little more talent. But nonetheless, you look at how things have gone. It's not been well. But I got to say, man, you look at just the resumes of these guys, you've got to favor. I absolutely lean Carlton minus here. Let's take a look at what we have for odds. We don't have any on Tapology, but this fight, as it stands right now, Carlton minus a minus 150 to a plus 125. Matthew Semmelsberger. Boy, I tell you what, though. Carlton minus opened as a minus 365 favorite. So there's something the betting public is seeing because they've absolutely smashed Matthew Semmelsberger from a plus 255 down to a plus 125. If this trend continues, he's probably going to be the favorite by Saturday. This line has not been open long, and it's taken some serious heat. So people are liking the dog. They're willing to roll the dice on the dog at big plus money, and the way things are going, I don't know. People are really seeing something here. Absolutely trending towards Matthew Semmelsberger. Maybe the bookies, maybe the odds makers were off on this one. Semmelsberger should be the favorite. I really don't know. I don't know enough about either fighter. I'm sure I will learn much more this week. As it stands right now, though, current odds seem right to me. I don't know why they would open Carlton so wide as the favorite, but they did, and the public's made him pay. So keep an eye open. If you get a strong read, if you're all over Semmelsberger as it stands right now, you better place that bet now because, man, my man is approaching even money with the hurry. So let's move on. That's your first fight of the night. Pretty interesting line movement there. Next fight, we got Mark Striegl versus Timur Valiev. So this will be another double debut. So we got Mark Striegl, Mugen or Muggin. I don't know. It's a crazy nickname. He is 18-2. Pretty impressive record. We're going to see who he's fought, though. Did have a draw in his last fight. Previous to that, though, had a good win streak going. Fighting out of the Philippines. He is 32 years old. A little bit old to be making that debut, especially considering this fight is at bantamweight. So he is 5'8". It looks like he's going to have a couple inches of height on Timur. And we don't have the numbers on his reach. He's fighting out of Fist Gym. Let's see here. Timur, 16-2, a guy who was going to be going up against Jamal Emmers. That fight was called off. That fight was supposed to happen, I believe, last Saturday, if not the week before. But Timur, a quick turnaround. They're getting him in. A guy who was pretty hyped, but I felt like was kind of a tricky fight. This one might be a little more straightforward. Let's look at what Mark has done. Wish I knew how to pronounce this guy's nickname, but I really don't have a clue. So, last fight, I guess it wasn't a draw. No contest against Shunichi Shimizu, a 32-22-11 guy. That's one of the craziest records I've ever seen. So, no contest, low blow. It must have been a heck of a low blow. Somebody could not continue. So, we have, let's see here, previous to that, we got a W over Du Guillaume Lee by guillotine. Then we have a win over Gi Sung Kim, unanimous decision. A win over Andrew Benibe, a key lock, so he's getting a sub win there. Another decision win over Sotir Kuchukov. That's taking us all the way back to 2016 before we hit a L with Reese McLaren, where he got rear naked. So this guy can win fights by sub. He's been subbed. He can win a decision. He is pretty much exclusively fighting on the Asian scene. We got another one here, a loss to Jang Yong Kim, a 6-5 guy. But you know what? We're all the way back in 2013. That's been quite a while. Not a guy who's been super active. I guess, when you're not super active, you can be 32 and make your debut. So let's take a look at Timur Valiev, who I'm almost assured should be the favorite, if not the heavy favorite. So 16-2, like I said, 30 years old. Look at this. Training out of Dag Fighter and Jackson Wink. Pretty tasty combination, if you ask me. So, last fight before making the jump to the big show. A win over Tigro Costa, 15-5 cat. It went over Giovanni Da Silva, round 1 by punches. A win over Bekbulat Magomedov, a very good fighter in PFL, 19-3 guy. Very impressive win right there. Win over Max Koga, win over Jose Naldo Silva, win over Chris Gutierrez, and then a loss to Chris Gutierrez. I tell you what, though, this was a split decision loss to Chris Gutierrez. Go back and watch that fight, man, when you watch tape. I'm not so sure he lost. I guess I've seen worse decisions, but honestly, this guy probably beat Chris Gutierrez 2 times in a row. And Chris Gutierrez is pretty good. Probably improved since 2016, but, I mean, you look at, for being outside of the UFC, he's fought some really good level of competition, and he's beat them pretty handedly. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys, I'm definitely going to take Timur Valiev here. I mean, again, I'm not very familiar with Mark Striegl, but I can almost assure you I will be all over Timur Valiev here. And let's take a look at some odds. We got Timur Valiev. Oh, boy. Yeah, that's going to make him the second biggest favorite on the card at -500. So good luck getting in on that. Let's see where we opened up. Yeah, they opened up Timur at a -450, and people said, you know what? -450 is not even steep enough. This guy should win this fight. They've got him up to a -500. Who knows where he's going to end up? I mean, he's already trending. He opened wide. He opened steep. It's getting steeper. If you think you want to hit Timur on that parlay, you better get on it sooner than later. At the same time, what difference does it make a -500, a -600 in a parlay? Not all that much. Honestly, if you're feeling like Mark has a good shot, maybe sit back and hit that big plus money. It's probably going to get even better as the week goes on. How you could come up with taking Mark Striegl, I'm not totally sure, because Timur Valiev seems to really be about that life, and I think he's going to have quite a bit of success in the UFC. So let's roll right along here. Here we go. This is a very, very interesting fight. Let me tell you why. Austin Thud Hubbard versus Joe Solecki. So let's see what we got here. Austin Hubbard, 12-4. Trading wins and losses. Getting the pattern rolling right along. Joe Solecki is on a 4-fight win streak. He's got an L, 5 fights back. We'll get into that. 28 years old for Austin, 26 years old for Joe Solecki. 2 guys right in the absolute prime of their life, prime of their career. Should be no excuses on any level, unless somebody's, hiding an injury, whatever, that type of thing. But we got 2 guys that are 2 young dudes who are hitting their stride right now. Should be a good fight. Both guys, true lightweights. We have an inch of height for Austin and a ½ inch of reach for Austin as well. These boys are virtually identical when it comes to the tail of the tape. So Austin Hubbard, man, one thing we got to point out is fighting out an Elevation Fight Team. Elevation Fight Team is just on fire right now. It seems to be a common phenomenon in MMA. Gyms will kind of pick up steam, really get something going, and their fighters are just almost impossible to beat. We've seen similar runs with Hard Knocks 365, who is now Sanford MMA. I'm trying to get used to saying that. I got to say, I really like the name Hard Knocks 365. But Sanford MMA, City Kickboxing out of New Zealand. This thing happens, man. Gyms catch fire, and they just win fights. So we got Joe Solecki coming out of Jim O and Salty Dog Jiu-Jitsu. Let's see what Austin has been up to. So we got Thud coming in with the very, very unique fight. One that definitely caught fire. A video that caught fire. A video you can watch right now on my YouTube channel. A video or a fight where Max Roskopf quits on the stool after the second round. A very, very unusual scenario that we just don't see happen a lot. It's very rare that a fighter tells their coach, I got nothing left. I can't go back out there. And Austin Hubbard, great performance, really put it on the kid, Max Roskopf. Failure on a multitude of levels on the management of Max Roskopf to get him in that debut in that spot. Like I said, a failure on multiple levels. They kind of ruined this kid's career, and he actually, for those of you who aren't aware, Max Roskopf has been cut in the last couple days, so he will not be making a second attempt at getting a UFC win. He's going to have to work his way back up the ladder on the local scene if he mentally has what it takes. We might have seen someone break, and he might never be back. Previous to that, we got the L to Marco Madsen. Now, this L to Marco Madsen is probably what made Austin Hubbard the underdog to a debuting Max Roskopf. So Hubbard, the dog to Roskopf, cashes. Did lose the fight to Marco Madsen, but this was a really good fight, man. Marco Madsen definitely won the first 2 rounds, but Austin Hubbard clearly won the third. So a fight he lost, but a fight that he came back and eventually, was picking up some steam, but was just too much. He had already lost the first 2 rounds handedly. Gets a win over Kyle Prepolek. Previous to that, unanimous decision. Takes another L to Davey Hamosh, a grappler. I don't know what the deal is with Austin Hubbard and the fact that you look at what's going to be 4 of his last 5 fights, Kyle Prepolek being the only one that bucks the trend. Davey Hamosh, Marco Madsen, Max Roskopf, these are grapplers. Why this kid keeps fighting grapplers, I don't know. Joe Solecki is a grappler, and Joe Solecki is the favorite right now. For me, this fight in a nutshell is probably going to break down. Where do you rate Joe Solecki's grappling? Do you rate it with the level of a Davey Hamosh, with the level of a Marco Madsen, or are you leaning more towards the level of a Max Roskopf? Personally, I'm not totally sure yet. I need to watch some tape, but for me, this could be an interesting one here. Yet again, I think Austin Hubbard will be the underdog, possibly undeservingly so. So let's keep it moving here. So Davey Hamosh was the debut. Previous to that, we got Kilis Mota, LFA. He's one of these elevation guys who came up through LFA. And I tell you what, these guys that come up through LFA, they get some pretty good fights before they make their debut. It's really good experience getting in a few LFA fights before you make it to the big show. So went over Harvey Park, a guy that we've seen on Tuesday Night Contender Series. It went over Charlie Radke, a loss to Eric Wisely by unanimous decision. And then we got to get all the way back to 2016 with the L over Sean McMurray, where he did lose by rear naked. So I tell you what, Austin Hubbard, like I said, a young dude still developing. I don't know, man. This could get interesting. Let's take a look at Joe Solecki's resume. So Joe is 9-2. Like I said, Salty Dog Jiu-Jitsu and Jim O. Got the win over Matt Wyman. I got to tell you guys something, man. Matt Wyman, not very good. I mean, look at his record, 16-8. A guy who's been in the UFC for over a decade, but had a 3-year hiatus. Came back and just looked terrible. So not a win I'm going to rate too highly. Don't get me wrong. He did dominate the fight, but that's Matt Wyman, man. That guy is just washed and not UFC caliber. Did get a win over James Wallace. Guillotined him 3 minutes, 49 seconds into the first round. Impressive win. Before that, we have a win over Jacob Bone. 7-6 guy on the CFFC level. That actually was the card that was headlined by Anyanwu versus Dawkins. Dawkins. Boy, he looked pretty good on Saturday, didn't he? We got a win over Gilbert Prachnio. Triangle choke. But we do have a loss to Nicholas Mota, and that's only 2 years ago. He got knocked out 1 minute into the third round by Nicholas Mota, an 8-2 guy. Win over Johnson Jajut, rear naked. A win over Eric Calderon, ref stoppage from strikes. And then a loss to Cesar Balmaceda. Lost to a 2-0 guy only 3 years ago by unanimous decision. Don't get me wrong, he himself was only 3-0 at the time. So a young career, man. This guy's only 5 years into his career. He's been knocked out. He's lost decisions. And not to the highest level of competition, man. So let's take it back here. Let's take a look at the odds. Topology is lacking on us. They are not giving us odds this week as of yet. But right now we have Joe Solecki, the -145 favorite. We got Austin Hubbard coming back at a +125. Where did we open up? We are right in the same range. If anything, a little bit of money's coming on Solecki. Wow. So looks like we may have people yet again questioning the grappling skills of Austin Hubbard. I got to tell you guys, man, I just don't know. I haven't seen enough of this Solecki guy, in a debut against Matt Wyman. Just doesn't tell me much. Something tells me to lean Hubbard. I'm going to lean Hubbard right now. Again, like I said, this fight to me is where do you rate Joe Solecki's grappling? Because that's what he wants to do. He wants to grapple. You look at the guy's career, he's looking to take you down, finish you with subs, finish you with the ground and pound, or cruise to the unanimous decision win. You know what I'm saying? And yet again, Hubbard, the dog against a grappler. Could be a good spot. I don't know, man. I'm going to put in some work, but I'm going to lean towards the dog on this one as it stands right now. Maybe I change my mind. You're just going to have to tune into Just Bleed MMA this Friday after weigh-ins, where you can get my full card picks and predictions. That's right, Just Bleed MMA every Friday after the weigh-ins. Make sure to subscribe. But also make sure to subscribe by Odds HQ. This video powered by odds.com, the channel that never sleeps, okay? It's just popping off every sport left and right. Odds HQ, baby. Hit that subscribe. Hit those bell notifications. We're making you money, folks. Let's keep her rolling here. Next fight of the night, we got us. Boy, another debuter. Jorge Gonzalez versus Ike Villanueva. Is it George? Well, the nickname's George Street. Not really sure what that's all about. Going up against the Hurricane Ike Villanueva, who has actually made his UFC debut. Boy, it was not good. It did not go great for him. Let's take a look at what we got here. So, one thing that's worth mentioning is Jorge Gonzalez is the #1 ranked heavyweight out of Mexico, for whatever that's worth. We don't see a lot of heavyweight talent coming out of Mexico. Who knows? Maybe the guy's legit. We're going to try and find out right now. So we don't have a lot of stats on George Street. Okay, we know he's 6 feet tall, and that's all we got. As a matter of fact, Tapology won't even tell us how old the guy is. He is training out of ADAM gym compared to Ike Villanueva, who's coming out of 4-ounce. Ike Villanueva, 73-inch reach, 6'1", weighed in at 232. 36 years old, though. Not the oldest heavyweight, but is Ike Villanueva really a true heavyweight? We're going to get into that, but let's take a look at Jorge Gonzalez first. So he is 16-4. Boy, one thing I got to tell you guys is this fight right here, I did a little peeking before we went live here. Now, I'm sure the odds are going to reflect this, but Jorge Gonzalez does not go to a decision. It doesn't happen. Win or lose, this guy doesn't know what scorecards are, okay? Now, most of those fights he's won, and most of those fights he's won early. Ike Villanueva, I think he's only been to the scorecards a couple times, so fight doesn't go the distance. I expect it to take a lot of steam. Maybe we could get in a little early, though, if you know what I'm saying. Maybe I'm throwing you a bone here. I don't know, but let's take a look. So last fight, Marcos Rodríguez beats an undefeated guy. Rear naked choke a minute into the fight. 8-0-1 guy. Not bad, right? Previous to that, we got an L over Nasrudinov. He got knocked out, TKO'd. Referee stoppage by punches, 3 minutes, 58 seconds into the second round. We have a win over Luke Barnett, the former UFC fighter who had mixed results. I mean, a 14-6 guy. Not a guy that I think's too incredibly talented, but a guy that won fights in the UFC. Knocked him out 3 minutes, 5 seconds into the first round. We have a rear naked. So there we go. We got 2 rear nakeds. We got punches. We've got a KO against Alejandro Aguilar, albeit an 0-0 guy. KO over Eduardo De Rocha, yet again an 0-0 guy. And we got a punch, another KO to a 5-7 guy, 3-3. So he's not fighting the best level of competition, unfortunately. However, he's blowing through him. So we have all the way back in 2015, we're talking 5 years ago, a heel hook loss, a submission loss, an armbar win, and a loss to Vinny Magalhães, who we're all familiar with, but we don't even have the method of how Vinny won in this fight. So maybe we have some decisions here, but from what the information we have, homeboy ain't been to a decision in over 5 years. I mean, Is this a crazy sport and both him and Ike stand there looking at each other for 3 rounds and he goes to a decision? Oh, yeah, it could totally happen. But I don't know, man. You probably could jump ahead of this, ahead of the trend on this one. I might be throwing you a bone. I don't know. We probably don't even have those odds yet out. So when they do drop, check it out. I'm sure the bookmakers aren't going to be too off, though. So Ike Villanueva makes his debut against Chase Sherman, a 14-6 guy who's coming back off of the bare-knuckle boxing scene. Chase Sherman finishes him 49 seconds into round 2. Not a good loss. Not a good loss. Chase Sherman, the Vanilla Gorilla, not a great fighter, but a dangerous guy nonetheless. So loses to Chase Sherman, gets finished in the debut. Maybe a little bit of octagon jitters. I don't know, though. It was not a good performance, though, I can tell you that. Okay, so on the local scene, Fury FC takes out Rashad Coulter. First round victory. Rashad Coulter, again, not a great fighter, but a guy who did have UFC experience. Previous to that, we got a win over Roger Narvaez, 30-second KO. Very impressive there. A win over Juan Torres, another first-round finish. Patrick Miller, first-round finish. Antonio Jones, split decision loss. Matt Jones, unanimous decision. Here's what's concerning. Trevin Giles. You guys know middleweight Trevin Giles? Currently in UFC? Yeah. Ike Villanueva fought him only 4 years ago. So Ike obviously has come up, and like I said, not a big heavyweight, not a true heavyweight. I don't know what the game plan is. You know, when you watch Ike Villanueva, it's not like he's one of these guys like a Daniel Cormier where, you know, he fights heavyweight but has like a power or a speed advantage. I don't know what the advantage is. I guess the advantage is he doesn't have to worry about his diet and cut weight. Like that's all I see. And I got to be honest, man, Ike Villanueva, I don't know if he's gonna be long for the UFC, in my personal opinion. We take it way, way back. We got a loss to Robert Drysdale. If you guys know who Robert Drysdale is, he's actually the coach who took some heat over the Max Roskopf loss that I was talking about 2 fights ago. Interesting how that works, right? Lost to Justin Ledet by armbar. Now, if you guys know Justin Ledet, this is a little bit telling because I got to tell you guys something, man. Justin Ledet, not great. Now, don't get me wrong. 8 years ago, should we hold it against him? Maybe not. We hope to see some growth, but I don't know, man. Ike Villanueva, not a guy that I'm high on. 36 years old, not even really a true heavyweight. 16-10 record. I mean, what else do we need to say? I guess where we need to know is where is George Gonzalez at? Does he have skills? I mean, he's finishing guys. You know. Let's take a peek at these odds. Whoa. Okay. So as it stands right now, these guys are dead even. It's a pick 'em. -110 apiece. Where did we open up at? Wow. So we opened up George Gonzalez -185. All the money has come in on Ike Villanueva. I mean, I'm looking at the chart right now. It appears when this opened up, Ike Villanueva was smashed all the way to the point where he's actually the favorite on a couple books. So apparently we've got a correction here by the public, the betting public, man. The early birds who are getting their money in there early in the game, getting real ahead of the game. They said Ike Villanueva is definitely worth a shot at +160. So we got a lot of people not believing George Gonzalez is going to do what he does and get Ike Villanueva out of there. Man, this is trending all Ike Villanueva. Should be interesting. Going to watch some tape. Going to see if I see what the early guys are seeing. Because apparently they believe Villanueva's the one to go with. I'll tell you what, though, if you want a Villanueva at that plus money, you missed the boat. But honestly, most books probably never had him. Usually it's just a couple books that'll open up, get smacked by the public. The other books sit back, wait, go, okay, that looks like a more correct line. Let's open them up even money. So you may have missed the boat if your book opens up lines early. If not, though, you got to pick them. So if you got a strong read on either side, you're getting pretty much even money. So not a bad spot to play. But, man, as it goes right now, Villanueva's taking the steam and may end up being the favorite by a good margin. Things trend how they trend. Yeah, it looks like Villanueva It does look like when I look at the chart, though, we've had a little bit of comeback on Gonzalez. So who knows? I expect these guys will probably be close to even by the time the fight comes around. So let's roll right along. And honestly, guys, I don't even have a lean on this one. I just don't have enough information. I don't have enough tape watched on George Gonzalez to have a lean. All I know is I'm not impressed by Ike Villanueva. So the fact that money's come in on Ike must tell you about the skill level of George Gonzalez. Okay, next fight, we got Dwight Grant going up against Jared Gooden. I believe Jared Gooden will be making his debut here. A lot of debutantes, man. Have we made it? Well, I think we've had one fight so far where at least one guy is not debuting. And that's kind of the tail of the card, really. So we got the return of Dwight Grant, the body snatcher, going up against Jared Night Train Gooden. So Dwight Grant, 10-2. On a 2-fight win streak, did get an L, 3 fights back. Boy, one thing that stands out, a guy coming off of a bit of a layoff over a year. He's 35 years old, about to be 36. To me, that's shocking, man. Dwight Grant just like visually looks younger to me than at 36 years old. I mean, I would have believed the guy was in his 20s if someone would have told me. But wow, 36 years old for Dwight Grant. Dude better step on the gas, man. The hourglass is emptying. You know what I mean? I mean, look at this. It's 30. He's going to be 36 in less than a month, going up against a guy who's 26. So a 10-year age gap between these fighters. Pretty tremendous. So both guys are true welterweights. We got 1 inch of height for Dwight Grant and a 1/2 inch of reach. Yet again, virtually identical guys. Dwight Grant, though, trainer out of American Kickboxing Academy, man. No joke. AKA, baby. Cain Velasquez, Daniel Cormier, Luke Rockhold, Habib Nurmagomedov. Is the camp fading a little bit? Kind of is, man. AKA not necessarily in that heyday like they used to. But, man, at one point, they were just on fire. So many belts, so many divisions. They really did something that's going to be hard to replicate in the future for other gyms. So we got Jared Gooden coming out of X3 Sports. Let's look at Dwight Grant. So like I said, he's been out a year, I believe. Yes, got a split decision win over Alan Juban, man. Alan Juban, I like him a lot, man. You know, he is 16-6. He has lost, you know, a few fights in the UFC, but to a pretty good level of competition. I mean, Alan Juban is good. You know, he's got some really good wins on his resume. Split decision win for Gooden, but damn, man, no matter how you beat Juban, that's good stuff, you know. So let's see, he got the dub over Carlo Pedersoli, knocked him out with 1 second left in the first round. Very impressive because Carlo Pedersoli, another very dangerous guy. Did lose a split decision to Zach Otto. Zach Otto, you know, we're talking all the way back December of 2018, almost 2 years ago. Zach Otto, kind of a guy who's washed out, but a guy who actually had a pretty good amount of success early on. But it's been a mixed bag. Zach Otto, tough guy to get a read on anymore. We got a win over Tyler Hill on Contender Series that got him the call up, knockout into round 2. Very good stuff. Bring him on board. And then some wins on the local, well, I guess Bellator. You can't call Bellator local, but then previous to that, all local fights against guys with mixed bag records. Did lose, damn, you know, that's all the way back in 2011. We're talking almost 10 years ago. We can't hold that one against him. So, not a bad record, but man, an older dude coming off a year layoff. Let's hope he hasn't declined too much. Probably hasn't. It's only been a year. Let's look at Jared Gooden, the 17-4 guy out of X3. So last fight, we got a win, strikes, and that was, wow. So dude is literally last fight was a month ago. We've seen guys coming off of very recent fights looking pretty good. Seems to be a trend worth taking note of. Previous to that, we got a win over Jay Jackson, but holy crap, man, Jay Jackson, 3-13 guy. But he does get the rear naked a minute 45 in. That's good. We need you to get the win in a minute 45 when you're fighting a 3-13 guy, right? So before that, we got a win over Marcel Stamps, 4-1 guy, guillotine choke, island fights. That was last October. He did get finished 53 seconds into the first round against Bruno Oliveira. But Bruno Oliveira, 7-1 guy, Titan FC. just about a year ago. Interesting. Definitely a fight I'm going to go back and watch. You know, it ended very quickly. Maybe he just got caught. Let's see. A win over Will Santiago, 9-6 guy. Needed ground and pound. Not even 30 seconds into the first round. That's a pretty impressive win. And a loss to Mike Graves. Mike Graves, a guy who was in the UFC and had a good amount of success. A guy who was very good on The Ultimate Fighter. I believe that was the American Top Team versus Black Zillion season. A really good season. A season that current welterweight champion Kamaru Usman came out of. So let's see, we got, man, this guy's been active, dude. I mean, look at that. We're still in 2019. This guy has been fighting. I like it. So went over undefeated Steve Newell, 9-0 guy, LFA. Cody Wilson, Superman punch in the third round in 2018. Wow, this guy's got in some fights, man. I mean, look at this. From 2017, so basically 3 years ago, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This guy's got in 13 fights in the last 3 years. That's activity, man. That's good stuff. Some wins to mixed bag level of competition going all the way back to 2016, but that's it, man. Couple blemishes, a couple L's in recent years, but a pretty good level of competition. I have no idea on the odds on this fight. Let's give it a look. So we've got Dwight Grant right now, a -185 favorite. Jared Gooden at the +160 mark. Where did we open up? Dwight Grant opens as a -205 favorite. So people have said, I think it's worth putting a little something on Jared Gooden at a +175. He's down to, like I said, that +150 range. So people have been willing to take the shot on the dog, Jared Gooden, and based off the resume, man, you know, not too surprising. Pretty solid resume. You know, all things considered, I don't have any problem where – I don't have a problem with where this fight opened up. I don't have a problem with where it's at. Tough to get a read on where the movement's going to happen. I got to see some tape on Jared Gooden. If he looks good, I would imagine people are going to keep taking that plus money stab. But, man, Dwight Grant, impressive in his own right. I'm not sure how this one moves, man. You know, I'm betting what's going to happen with a fight like this. A lot of my peers are probably going to be on one side or the other. I'm betting guys are going to be on both sides, though, honestly, especially when you can get that good plus number on Jared Gooden. We might see as the pros, per se, put their picks out, maybe people are leaning heavily one way or the other. People jump on board. We get people tailing, and the line really starts moving one way or the other. But as it stands right now, pretty flat, man. It's kind of sitting right there. It's bounced kind of back and forth, but we seem to be kind of right in the prime range where it sits right now. If you got a strong read on Jared Gooden, you feel good, man. You're probably going to want to pull the trigger sooner than later. He may not be as healthy of a dog as he is right now. So we will see, but I don't have a strong read on this one just yet. So let's keep it rolling right along. We've got a banger. Mike Rodríguez versus Marcin Prachnio. So let's take a look at this matchup. Mike Slow Rodríguez, a guy who, boy, I'll just come out and say it's been a bit disappointing, but he has had some success. Going up against Marcin, he don't even have a nickname, Prachnio. Poor guy. He's 13-4, pretty similar records. Man, both guys coming off of some L's, though. Prachnio, 2 L's. Mike Rodríguez, an L and a draw. So Mike Rodríguez, 31 years old to Marcin's 32, pretty much the same age, pretty much the same weight. Both guys true light heavyweights. We got an inch of height for Mike Rodríguez, and we don't know the reach on Marcin Prachnio. But I would be surprised if it were as good as Mike Rodríguez's 82.5-inch reach. That is a big old reach for Mike Rodríguez. I do not believe Marcin will have that level of reach. He's probably going to be a few inches behind at least. Maybe he does have some long arms. I'm not sure. We don't have that. We don't have that info right now. So Mike Rodríguez training out of Lozon and Marcin training out of Tatsujin Dojo de Venter, wherever the heck that is. I'm guessing Poland. Let's look at Mike Rodríguez's body of work. So, took the loss to Da Un Jung, 12-2 guy, right cross to ground and pound, a minute into the first round. Super disappointing loss. Big time L. Not good. Looked terrible. But did he get caught early? I don't know, man. I'm not overly too high on the guy, though, if I'm being honest. A no contest to John Allen. Not even sure if I can remember what happened in that fight. He was the heavy favorite. Did he pop for marijuana? I'm not sure. I can't even comment. Don't hold me to that. I'm not even sure what happened there. Yeah, I'd have to dig into it. I don't know if Tapology is going to give us the info, though. Previous to that, we got a win over Adam Milstead, a guy who's currently retired. I mean, that was in December of 2018. That's his last W officially. Did get it done, though, 3 minutes into the first round, so not bad. Adam Milstead, a big, tough dude. A loss to Devin Clark, a little bit telling. Devin Clark, not a bad fighter, but a guy that just doesn't get it done normally. So not the best look there, losing to Devin Clark. Devin Clark loses a lot of fights. A win over Jamel Jones. That's what got him into the UFC. Super impressive flying knee to punches. First round KO. Probably the most impressive thing he's done. Well, I guess the Adam Milstead KO was pretty impressive. Let's see here. And then we're on the local scene. Alex Hubin, James Dyserd, Hector Sanchez. A lot of bums, a lot of jobber records. Pretty terrible. A loss by Toehold to Kevin Haley, a 5-3 guy back in 2016. An L to Pat McCrohan by decision. A guy who was 1-0, but then again, he was also only 2-0 at the time. Yeah, I don't know, man. Mike Rodríguez, he's one of those guys that, going off memory, he's like, just hit or miss, man. It's like it's either his night or it's not. He's either impressive or he's incredibly unimpressive. Not a guy you probably want to back heavy with your money. I'll put it like that. Win, lose, or draw. A guy you're probably feeling really good passing on almost every time. But let's take a look at Marcin Prachnio. 13-4. What's he done? Nothing since he's been in the UFC. An L to Magomed Ankalaev. That's no surprise. Magomed Ankalaev, real good fighter. That was all the way back. Oh, boy. Not good. Your classic 2 losses and a 2-year off time frame. It's like having a red flag that has a picture of a red flag on it, and you're waving it in my face. You know what I'm saying? Does not bode well. Not a situation I can see myself getting behind. Let's dig in. Oh, a first-round KO loss to Sam Alvey? That's just, I'll just come out there. That's just downright terrible. Okay, that's just downright terrible. Sam Alvey, oof, that's a rough L. If you lose to Magomed Ankalaev, I'll give you a pass. Magomed's going to beat everybody, unless it's Paul Craig with 1 second left in the fight. But a loss to Sam Alvey, not impressive. Previous to that, we're talking 1 championship, man. Knocks out Gilbert Galvao, 29-5 guy. Not a bad record, but 1 championship. Who knows who he's been fighting. Knocks him out a minute 25 in. A win over Jake Butler, first round win. Split decision to Leandro Ataides. Split decision win over an 8-2 guy. We're all the way back in 2016 at this point. Back on the finishing streak, though, Alexandre Machado, Tomislav Spahovic, 8-5 guy. He's finishing them. Unanimous decision wins. And, oh, look at that, though. That's interesting. He did fight Alexander Rakic and got straight knocked out 3 minutes into the third round. That makes sense. Alexander Rakic is real good. But, I mean, that's dang near 6 years ago. Literally got a win over Bozo. That's right. Bozo Mikulic. There's just no way I was going to not be able to bring up Bozo Mikulic in this video. I'm sorry. Head kicks Bozo right in his Bozo. That's a first round KO. like I said, we're back in 2014. A loss to Ivica Tadijanov, 0-1 guy, but let's not get too crazy. That was a long time ago. Boy, it has not been good for Marcin Prachnio. I gotta tell you what though, Daniel Rodríguez, not impressive. I honestly do not have a lean on this fight. Gonna have to watch the tape. I don't know who. I mean, I guess Mike Rodríguez has won a fight in the UFC, right? That might be about the strongest read we have here. So, oof, tough one. Let's look at the odds. Whoa, okay, so Mike Rodríguez, as it stands right now, the minus 235 favorite. Apparently that one W is speaking numbers for the guy. So minus 235 Mike Rodríguez. We got a plus 195 on Marcin Prachnio. Where did we open up at? Mike Rodríguez opens as a minus 170. Marcin a plus 145. The early betting folks jumped on that Mike Rodríguez line right away. Looking at the chart, man, it was all early action. As soon as he opened up, they said, that ain't right. Hit Mike Rodríguez. He's been hit up quite a bit, almost a full dollar at this point on the money line. So, they're apparently the betting public's quite confident in Mike Rodríguez at this point. And who could blame him? Marcin Prachnio, you look at the resume, you probably watch the tape. There's not much there to get excited about. Boy, Mike Rodríguez is a minus 250 favorite, though. That's really tough to back under any circumstance, under almost anyone. Not sure I agree with it. I probably would put this somewhere between the opening line and where we currently sit. Mike Rodríguez, I think, should be minus 200 at the absolute steamiest, but the betting public says otherwise. They continue to hit him, but it looks like we have flattened out the curve. Seems to be a little bit of action on both sides, but how you get a strong read on this one, I'm not sure. Maybe the tape study will tell us how this fight should play out, but I don't really have a strong read on this one as it stands right now. Let's keep her rolling. So, boy, this is a good one right here. This is a fight that really got my attention right off the bat. We got Takashi Sato versus Daniel Rodríguez. I'm going to tell you guys right now, from probably any standpoint, this is going to be a good fight. This should be a really good fight. So, Takashi Sato, D-Rod. We got Takashi Sato 16-3, pretty good record. Won his last fight impressively, albeit what level of competition, I don't know. We will get into that. D-Rod 12-1 on a healthy win streak. Good stuff out of him thus far in his UFC career. Takashi Sato, 30 years old. Daniel Rodríguez, 33. Both are true welterweights. Takashi 5'10", D-Rod with a 3-inch height advantage coming in at 6'1", and D-Rod will have 1 inch of reach. So not a tremendous size discrepancy. Takashi, what have you done? Let's see it. Training. Ooh, there it is. Look at that. And that's actually the first I've seen the logo, man. That's pretty cool. So Hard Knocks 365, now Sanford MMA. Check that out. Pretty cool logo. I expect them to do big things, man. I don't know, though. Maybe things have changed up with the name change. Maybe they don't hold on to that fire they had as Hard Knocks 365. But I got to tell you what, as long as Henry Hoof is around, is the striking coach, they're going to do well. So, last fight, Jason Witt, ground and pound, 48 seconds. Excellent win. Takes the L to Bilal Muhammad. Previous to that, though, almost a year ago now. So, I got to tell you guys what, though, man. Bilal Muhammad, a guy that I'm super high on, a guy who I bet in his last fight. Just a really solid fighter who I rate real highly, man. I like Bilal Muhammad a lot, so I'm not going to knock Takashi too much taking an L to Bilal. Previous to that, we got a knockout win to Ben Saunders. Ben Saunders is just beyond cashed out, man. Takashi Sato. He's going to knock out Ben Saunders, I'll go ahead and say 9 out of 10 times, but in all actuality, maybe 10 out of 10 times. If they fought 10 times, you might actually knock him out 10 times. Previous to that, we got a win over Matt Vile, but that's all the way back on the Pancrase scene where he comes from. Guy got in a lot of Pancrase fights. Did lose to Glyco Franca, though. Sleeper choke, 4th round in Pancrase. That's a 4th round fight. Yeah, took him into deep waters, hit him with the sleepers. So but Glyco Franca, 18-5 guy, not a terrible record. We got to go all the way back. We got wins, finish. Good stuff, man. Split decision win here over Eric Michael Fought, a guy who was 4-3-3 at the time. That's not great, but, we're talking 5 years ago. He did get knocked out in the first round by Kenta Tagaki, a 13-10 guy. Not the best look, but I'm going to tell you guys right now, there's no way he was training at Sanford back in 2015. His striking has vastly improved. Again, Henry Hooft, I love talking about the guy. I'm so high on Henry Hooft. It's just ridiculous. This guy can take dudes off the street, turn them into high-level strikers, just straight up. And we're seeing that in Takashi. His striking looks really good lately. And that's it, man. The only 2 blemishes right there. Glyco, Kenta, and Bilal Muhammad. Not bad. So let's take a look at, and I got to tell you guys what, man, I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Takashi Sato right now. But I tell you what, Daniel Rodríguez, 12-1. This guy's only lost 1 fight. And sheesh, looking good, man. Okay, so last fight was short notice over Gabe Green, a 9-2 guy. Gabe Green, I think, took this fight, I want to say a week's notice, but it honestly could have been like 3 or 4 days. Gabe Green took this fight, and I believe he took it up a weight class. And I tell you what, Gabe Green looked really good. I liked how Gabe Green looked in that fight on such short notice. Now, Daniel Rodríguez, you got to take your hat off to him, too, for taking a fight on short notice against a different opponent, against a guy who came in very tough, very green, with a very good gas tank, in a no USADA situation, if you know what I'm hinting at. So, does get the win over Gabe Green. Previous to that, though, the big win, man, over Tim Means, a fight that he was like a plus 235 underdog when Tim Means was a huge favorite. You know, gets a big upset win and looked great doing it, man. Really put it on. Tim Means fought a great fight. Very impressive debut in the UFC. Let's look at, previous to that, he's on the local circuit. Quentin McCottrell, terrible record, takes him out in the second round. Beats Rico Farrington, 7-2 guy. That was on Contender Series. He did not get the call up, man. Had to get another win before they said, come on in here and fight Tim Means. What a debut and what a win. So, went over Ivan Castillo, gets him with the knee round 2. Ozzy Alvarez, Alex Velasco, Justin Baseman. Not the best level of competition. Does lose a split. That's his only blemish. A split decision win over Victor Reina, 9-3 guy at Combate. It's not a fight I'm familiar with. I can't think of this fight off the top of my head. I should go back and watch this fight, though. This only happened not even 3 years ago. Split decision win. I actually wouldn't be surprised if D-Rod actually won this fight and the judges screwed him. I don't know, though. Maybe Victor Reina did deserve the win and one judge got it wrong, giving it to D-Rod. I just don't know, but all I'm saying is the only loss this guy has is a split decision. So that's worth something. One judge thought he won. You know what I'm saying? So very impressive, man. Tough to go against this guy here. Sato's lost some fights. D-Rod's barely lost one fight. You know what I'm saying? That speaks a lot. Let's see what we have odds-wise. We got D-Rod coming in at a -170. Some books up to a -195. And we got Sato plus 150. Where did we open up? All right. So the public likes D-Rod. It's another one of those, man, that opened up and got smashed within 24 hours. We see that a lot. We see a few books that'll open things up early. Some sharp, some confident money, some people who think that they know the line better than the odds makers really hit them hard, and that's what's happened here. He got hit, crushed the first 24 hours, and we've seen it flatten out to where we are right now. But Daniel Rodríguez opens up at the -130 to Takashi Sato's plus 110. If you're backing Sato here, you're getting a much better number. If you got D-Rod in this one, you're not getting that beautiful -130 number, but who knows? Things could bounce back. Like I said, some of my counterparts, a lot of my homeboys get heavy on Sato. The number could get better on Rodríguez. I think I like the opening numbers better. I'm not so sure if the public confidence on D-Rod is warranted. Sato's slick, man, a real slick striker. But I tell you what, not too terrible. I think that Sato could be a good play here, and you're getting that good plus money, man. The odds makers sure think it's closer than the public does. I don't know, man. This is interesting. I think we'll see some line movement as some people start putting out picks and predictions. I'm interested to see this one, though. I feel like this is a pretty even. I like the opening odds. If it were up to me to set this line, I'd be right there. Daniel Rodríguez minus 130, Takashi Sato plus 110. Boy, I don't know. Maybe we see a bounce back on Sato. Maybe D-Rod keeps taking that money. I really am not sure. Sit back and keep your eye on this one, though. I think we are going to see some movement here. I'm just not sure on what side, though. And if I had to make a lean right now, gosh, the way things have developed, oof, I'm feeling a touch tempted. I think there could be some value on that Sato plus 150. Maybe I change my mind again. You want my final picks? Just Bleed MMA this Friday, baby. Tune in. I will let you know. I will have it figured out by then. That's for sure. So, excellent fight. Excellent one for betting, man. I like it a lot. And I gotta tell you what, it's gonna be. I just got a feeling it's gonna be a great fight. Whether you're betting or not, sitting it out, that's gonna be an action-packed fight. Okay, that takes us up to the last prelim. We got Mizuki Inoue versus Amanda Lemos. I believe, yeah, this got to be our first female fight of the night at straw weight. So, Mizuki is actually ranked number 46 worldwide flyweight. So, her last weigh-in was at flyweight. So, she will be dropping down to straw weight in this one. That is obviously worth mentioning. She's 14-5. Amanda Lemos 7-1. Mizuki 2-fight win streak. Lemos on a 1-fight win streak. Did take an L previous to that. Mizuki 26 years old. Amanda Lemos 33. I don't know, man. 33 years old at straw weight. Getting a little old. I don't know. Did you guys see how Felice Herrig looked last night? Not a lot of old small women. We don't see a lot of little old ladies getting it done in the UFC. You know what I'm saying? But let's not pigeonhole her too much. But man, I don't know if that was a terrible performance by Felice last night or a really impressive one by Verna, but wow. So, like I said, last weigh-in for Mizuki, 125, so taking it down to 115, will she make the weight? I don't know. Has she fought a strawweight before? I don't know. I guess let's try to take a look. Where are we at size-wise? Inch of height for Amanda and 1 inch of reach. So not a lot of size discrepancy. Probably why Mizuki's taken the drop down. She's just probably a little bit undersized at 125. What has she done? Fighting out of Japan, 2 Japanese fighters in a row. Interesting, right? So gets the win, split decision over Yanan Wu. She said, that was a little too close. I'm going to drop down a weight class. Gets a dub over Viviane Pereira, unanimous decision. That's Invicta, so she's only one UFC fight deep, and that was a split. So there we go. We were just talking about Verna Jandiroba, how great she looked. What do you know? 2 fights ago, she fought Verna Jandiroba, lost a split decision. I tell you what, a split decision lost to Verna. Not terrible. Verna Jandiroba can grapple. You know what I'm saying? One judge gave it to Mizuki, so not bad. Not a bad L. Not at all. We did have a bit of a layoff. I mean, we only go back 4 fights, and we're in 2016, so not a lot of activity. Armbar over Lynn Alvarez, another armbar over Nori Date, and another armbar over Lacey Shuckman. So I tell you what, you don't want to let Mizuki get a hold of that arm. She'll take it. But well, you know what we see constantly in women's MMA that just doesn't really happen in the big boys anymore? Apparently, you can still get armbarred in women's MMA. It's getting pretty rare that we see armbars, a dude getting armbarred. It's more of a mistake than it is somebody busting off a really slick armbar. But then again, most armbars are about someone making a mistake, less about somebody being really good at armbars. And the women, they kind of make more mistakes. I mean, I'll keep it real with you. So we got to go all the way back to, 2015, Invicta, a loss to Alexa Grasso, current UFC fighter. Unanimous decision. Split decision loss to Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I mean, these are names. You know what I'm saying? These are women who made it to the UFC and had good wins. I mean, Karolina Kowalkiewicz was good at one point. She's not anymore, but she was at one point. I mean, that's all the way back in 2014. We're getting pretty early. And then we got a weird loss here. Apparently she won, and then they said, you know what, you missed weight, so actually take this L. I don't know. That was in deep. Who knows what's going on there? Weird stuff. And then we got to go all the way back to Ayaka Hamasaki, and we're 10 years ago. So let's not even get into that. But not a terrible body of work recently. And, you know, like I said, she was giving up a size disadvantage, a strawweight coming, or excuse me, a flyweight coming on a strawweight might look like, you know, her true home. She might look quite a bit better. Let's see what we got going on here with Amanda Lemos. So like I said, 33 years old, not a big fan of that. Got the win over Miranda Granger, who, I don't know, man, kind of had some hype. I want to look at the odds because if I remember right, I think Miranda Granger was a pretty good favorite in that spot. That was in December, rear naked choke, round 1. I like that. Lost to Leslie Smith. Man, Leslie Smith's like a bantamweight. So that's interesting. I guess we need to look at, can we look at that here? Wow, okay, so that was a bantamweight fight. That's interesting. Then Miranda Granger, we had at strawweight. Whoa. Okay, so, I mean, obviously she was giving up a tremendous, I mean, that's a 20-pound weigh-in difference. She must have been giving up some serious size and strength to Leslie Smith. That's her only loss. Beats Mayra Santuaria. Where was this? That's at bantamweight. Wow, so she's been fighting bantamweight. Another bantamweight. Draw to Mayra Contuaria, 2-0 fighter. That's back in 2016. So, wow, she seems to have really dropped down. Dang, that's crazy, though, because she didn't have much of a size advantage. Was she just really heavy? I'm not sure, man. I'm going to need to go back and watch this because this is interesting. She's the one who's actually fought at strawweight. I don't know. Let me look back at that. I mean, were those numbers? That's crazy to be 5'4" with a 65-inch reach and was fighting at bantamweight for most of her career. Huh. I don't know, man. That could be interesting. Let's look at this line. We've got Mizuki Inoue, currently the -165 favorite. Amanda Lemos +145. Where did we open up? We opened Mizuki as the -135 to Amanda Lemos as +115. So money has come in on Mizuki. Boy, this is a tough one, man. As if women's MMA wasn't a hard enough read. We got a weight class debacle here that I just am not totally sure on. And man, you look at the graph on how the money's moved. It's crazy. We had a serious correction come in. Money flowed on Mizuki. And now we've actually, in the last couple days, had a bounce back on Lemos, where money's come back in on Lemos. So initially, Mizuki gets smashed, possibly too far. People come back in and now are hitting Lemos. Boy, this is an interesting fight, man. This one I'm going to imagine we're going to learn a lot in the tape study here, because I'm just not familiar enough with either off memory to have a solid read here. I feel like there's a lot of things that should lean advantage Mizuki, but then in a lot of ways, there's things that should lean advantage Amanda Lemos. This is another one I'm having a real tough time really trying to figure out what line movement I agree with. Man, I don't know, and I honestly do not have a lean. I am intrigued by the good plus money on Lemos, but I am just not an advocate for betting mid-level to low-level women's MMA. I'm not even sure I can give you guys a lean here. I can't even give you guys a lean here. I would feel terrible if anyone were betting based off a lean I was giving. I'm just not going to do it. I don't have any solid reads on this fight. All I can tell you is this is a wacky fight. And the line movement, I know this is only the third odds whisperer we've done. We haven't seen line movement in a fight like this fight. This is very unusual. This graph is very unique, and it appears Lemos is starting to take some money again. I just maybe no. We had Mizuki early. Lemos started taking action, and now we've got money coming back on Mizuki. But that just might be because people are. I don't know, man. This just goes to show you women's MMA is very, I use the word wishy-washy, man. It's just I don't know how guys end up getting strong reads on some of these fights, truly. And I feel quite similar about this one. I just don't know. But let's keep it moving. I don't want to get too caught up on this fight, honestly. So, oh man, there's no way that was the last. I think what we're gonna see some fights moved around here because that's officially on Tapology listed as a prelim. Well, we've only got 3 fights left to cover, and apparently this is our first main card. No, some of these fights that I talked about earlier will end up on the main card, mark my words. So it appears that the order in which I've gone over these fights, I will guarantee you gets jumbled. We may even have fights added. I'm not sure. It's been interesting lately, but let's get into this next one. We got Mariya Agapova versus Shana Dobson. And I got to tell you guys what, before we get into anything, I'm going to tell you one thing that I know for sure. This fight is absolutely meant to be a setup win for Mariya Agapova. Just, there's no doubt in my mind. We'll get into it, though. So, Mariya Agapova, 9-1, good win streak, and we actually have odds here on Tapology. Minus 850, huge favorite, it says in parentheses, and they ain't lying. Plus 525, heavy underdog, Shana Danger Dobson. So we got Mariya coming out of Kazakhstan. You guys know about that Kazakh life. Let's see here. 23 years old, super young. Oh boy. We've seen a lot of hype train young prospects falling by the wayside. They're falling like flies, guys. What is going on? I don't think that's the case here. I really don't. This one has been hand-picked, I believe, to get that Mariya win. So, 23 years old, Shana Dobson, 31 years old. I mean, 8-year age discrepancy here. Both are true 125ers. Both are 5'6". Both have identical reach at 68 to 69. Let's see here. Mariya coming out of Akhmat Fight Club, Kazakhstan, and Shana Dobson coming out of Elevation, who I was talking up earlier, but I am not going to be talking up Shana Dobson. I can guarantee you that. So let's look at Mariya. What has she done? I'll tell you what she's done. She went in there and just beat the crap out of Hannah Cyphers in that debut. Another one that I got to be honest, kind of felt like a setup win. Gets the rear naked choke. 2 minutes, 42 seconds after beating the crap out of Hannah Cyphers on the feet. Gets the win in Invicta over Mariya Santos, round 1. Win over Alex Connors, round 1. A loss to Tracy Cortez. Now, this was on Contender Series last summer. First L, the only L on her resume, and I got to tell you guys something. Tracy Cortez, stylistically speaking, is a terrible matchup for Mariya Agapova. Tracy Cortez, dominant, heavy wrestling, good takedowns, heavy top game, pretty much the kryptonite to Mariya Agapova. And she got it done. Tracy Cortez is good in his one fights in the UFC. Pretty good prospect, not a bad L. Win over Na Liang, KO. We got a unanimous decision win. We got a armbar. We got punches. We got rear nakeds. This chick wins fights in a multitude of ways. She's got subs. She's got excellent hands, though. Strikes. I mean, this chick cracks hard. She strikes long. There's a lot of things to like about Mariya Agapova. I got to tell you guys something. I'm pretty high on her. Until they get her in there with a really good wrestler again, which that ain't Shana Dobson. She's probably going to roll on it. I think the UFC is trying to build this girl, if I'm being honest with you. So Shana Dobson, 3-4, terrible record, total bum, total jobber. Why is she in the UFC? Probably to be stepping stones for fighters like Mariya Agapova. So what has she done? Oh, not much. Just loses constantly all the time to people who aren't even good. So lost to Priscilla Cachoeira, a terrible fighter, gets knocked out 40 seconds into the first round. Wow, that's some serious bum shit. I just got to tell you, that's a terrible loss. Then loses to Sabina Mazo, another fighter who looked really good against Shana Dobson, who I'm not totally sure is that good, if I'm being honest. Then what do you know? A loss to Lauren Mueller, yet again another fighter who's way better than Shana Dobson, but absolutely who I would consider a run-of-the-pack mediocre fighter. You know what I'm saying? I don't see Lauren Mueller, Sabina Mazo, or Priscilla Cachoeira ever getting UFC gold wrapped on him. I mean, Sabina Mazo is very young. Maybe she could develop, but to lose to Sabina Mazo at this point, not a good look. Gets a win over Ariel Beck, a 4-4 fighter, with punches in the second round. Problem is, that's only 2.5 years ago. Loses to Roxanne. That's an exhibition fight. Roxanne Modafferi, not that good. Finishes her a minute 37 into the first round. Find me somebody else Roxanne Modafferi is beating a minute 30 into the first round. I mean, it's almost impossible to lose that fast to Roxanne Modafferi. Roxanne Modafferi usually hasn't got done shadow boxing a minute 37 seconds into the first round. Beats Rebecca Adney, someone who's never won a fight. So that's horrific. Lost to Nico Montano, who's, hit or miss, but a UFC fighter. And then win over Cassandra Spatz. So let's touch on this real quick. The combined record of anyone she's ever beat is 4-4. Also, the only person who has a record at all previous to her fighting was 4-4. This is unreal. 2 0-0 fighters and 1 500 fighter on the Ultimate Fighter finale. That's who this chick's beat. I mean, I'm speechless. I don't know how you could ever, under any circumstance, come up with any way you could ever take Shana Dobson, other than the fact that this is just women's MMA and the way things are going, Shana Dobson could win this fight. I don't think she is. I'm going to tell you guys right now, the pick is Mariya Agapova. There's just nothing I could ever see out of Shana Dobson on tape anywhere. I don't care if she came into my house and beat the crap out of me tonight, and I was like, wow, this chick's got really good striking. It just, it just ain't happening. Like, there's just no way. Mariya Agapova is meant to win this fight, and it would be absolutely catastrophic if she loses. She's a -850 favorite right now. Where does it stand? We got, okay, so she's actually more like a -1,000, -1,200. I was just getting ready to say, I think Mariya still takes steam. What do you know she did? What do you know? I'm not kidding when I say Mariya Agapova. She's already -1,200 some books. This could be a -1,500. I mean, people are still feeling like she's undervalued. She's been bet on. Let's look at where she opens. Yeah, so she opened -800. It's -1,000. And that's been in 3 days. So people said, oh, wow, a -800 woman who's only had one fight in the UFC? I'm definitely hitting that. Have you lost your mind? Yeah, you might have. But is it also against probably the best matchup she could have under the UFC banner and Shana Dobson? I would say so. Where this fight ends up, I don't know. We might be talking about one of the biggest favorites, if not the biggest favorite we've had in years. Even beyond what Chimaev has been able to pull off. I'm not sure yet, but buckle up. This could get wild. How you could bet up, even at plus whatever she's going to end up at, +800 Shana Dobson, I could never. So I'm going to go ahead and say Agapova is going to win the fight, but shocking, right? -1,000 favorite. She probably should. Okay, let's keep it rolling here, boys. We are on to the co-main event. And I just got to say, man, thank you guys for watching, man. It's been awesome thus far on the Odds Whisperer. I appreciate it so much, you guys tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, boys. We're going to keep it rolling. We're going to keep finding these spots. So, co-main event, we got Ovince St. Preux going up against Alonzo Menifield. Late notice replacement, Alonzo Menifield. Who was Ovince supposed to fight? I can't remember. But Alonzo's stepping in, coming off that bad L, man. But let's look at what they've done. OSP, 24-14 record. God, he's such a guy that's so tough to get a read on, man. Impressive wins. Super disappointing losses. It's just, I don't know what to say about OSP. 37 years old. Fought his last fight at heavyweight. Looked terrible, if I'm being honest. I just don't know what to think about this guy. I will say this, though. He is the slight underdog right now. Close to a pick'em, but he's the slight dog. Like I said, 37 years old, weighed in at 240. This fight will be back at light heavyweight, though, so I'm hoping he can hit the 205 mark again. 6'3", so a 3-inch reach advantage on Alonzo. 3-inch height advantage, and he'll have 4 inches of reach. Alonzo 9-1, only blemished last fight, training out of Fortis. Let's see what OSP has done. He's been around the world, man, from Strikeforce to the UFC. He's fought darn near everybody, including John Jones, Nikita Krylov, Misha Oleksiejczuk, Dominic Reyes, Tyson Pedro, Alir Latifi, Corey Anderson. And he's beat some of these guys, you know what I mean? Which is impressive. But then he's out there losing split decisions to a super faded Ben Rothwell. I'm still shaking that one off. So, loses to Ben Rothwell, albeit a split. Gets the Von Flue over Misha Oleksiejczuk, a guy who honestly probably has no business fighting a light heavyweight. He's tiny as hell. Lost to Nikita Krylov, lost to Dominic Reyes, went over Tyson Pedro, lost to Alir Latifi. Come on, man. Beats Corey Anderson, who's headed to Bellator. Terrible, terrible move by Corey Anderson, if I'm being honest. Let's see here. Went over Yushin Okami with the Von Flue yet again. Went over Marcos Rogério de Lima with the Von Flue again. Lost to Volkan by split. That was actually Volkan's debut. I remember that. I bet Volkan as an underdog. Cashed it. Loved it. Lost to Jimmy Manuwa. Lost to John Jones. Of course he lost to John Jones. Who don't lose to John Jones? Went over Rafael Cavalcante, but man, we're talking Rafael Cavalcante, my guys. We're back in 2016. That's hard to, let's keep it more recent, you know what I'm saying? So Patrick Cummins, Shogun, it was, Jesus, even back in 2015, Shogun was about washed. What has he done lately, though? That's the story, man, and it hasn't been good. We got L, dub, loss, win, loss. I don't know, man. Ovince St. Preux, he's not terribly old for a light heavyweight, but tough guy to just beat. He's one of those guys, man. I feel like you back him, he lets you down. You go against him, he wins. Just a real nightmare to bet with and against. Truly, he just plays spoiler. So Alonzo Menifield, like I said, lost his last fight to Devin Clark. Man, very disappointing loss. He was a heavy favorite. I think just about everybody. Don't get me wrong. A couple guys deserve props. I know a couple dudes who took Devin Clark, and man, Devin Clark got it done after looking almost totally defeated in the first round, but a good comeback by Devin Clark. Went over Paul Craig. I mean, if this guy, let's look, I mean, round one, round one. Noticing anything? If this guy doesn't take you out in the first round or within 30 seconds of the second round, he's going to lose. I mean, that's it. He's been to one decision. He lost. Devin Clark. Ovince St. Preux, bro. If you can make it 30 seconds past the second round, statistically speaking, the win is yours. Now, does Ovince St. Preux have a good gas tank? No, it's terrible, but I don't know, man. This is a tough one. What do we have? So, like I said, right now, Alonzo, the slight favorite. Where did we open up with this? And it looks like Zoe is taking, I mean, right now he's minus 130 favorite to plus 110. Where did we open? We opened with OSP being the slight favorite, minus 165 to the plus 125 of Alonzo Menifield. So, I mean, you got to ask yourself, Ovince St. Preux, is he getting knocked out in the first round and the second round? Not really. You know what I'm saying? So, wow, kind of strange, man. The odds makers open up OSP minus 165. They feel like he should be the favorite. They feel like he should win. The public says, oh, no, give me that Alonzo Menifield plus money, to the point that he's now the favorite. As a matter of fact, you could have scalped this one if you would have hit that early line on Alonzo Menifield. You could have bet Alonzo at plus money. You could bet OSP plus money right now. Doesn't matter who wins or loses, baby. You're making a profit. But that's a very rare scenario, and you'd have to be on one of the books where he opened up at. So Opens up, they steam Alonzo to the favorite, and it looks like we are actually starting to see a little bit of movement back on OSP. And that makes sense to me, man. Like, this is a tough fight on paper to try to figure out who should win. And really, it probably just depends on what OSP shows up. Is it the bum OSP? Because if it is, Alonzo Menifield's probably going to finish him. Probably going to finish him quick. If it's the OSP that fights smart and good, OSP's probably going to win. He's probably going to Von Preux him halfway through the second round, honestly. But I don't know, man. Really tough fight. Menifield's so damn dangerous early. Could he clip OSP? Absolutely. Could OSP drag him into deep water and win? Definitely. It's one of those fights. 2 clear paths to victories for both guys. Man, another one that I really don't have a lean on. I will say this, though. It's a little bit intriguing, that plus money on OSP, when the odds makers, who, I don't know, man, are usually pretty smart guys, kind of thought OSP should be the favorite to the tune of minus 165. That's always interesting to me. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe the public's right. Alonzo Menifield, though, God, he was so disappointing in that last fight. He's going to need to step it up, because if he comes out there and fights like he did against Devin Clark, he's going to lose. So not sure on that one, man. Another one that I just got to watch tape before I can even really give a lean. But interesting line movement nonetheless. That's why we do this show, man, is because it does add another element to trying to figure out who you're going to go with when you take the opinion of the odds makers and then the betting public into account. I think a lot of people don't really do that, but I feel like smart bettors do. Okay, that's it, man. We did it. Another episode of The Odds Whisperer. We are up to the main event. Pedro Munhoz versus Frankie Edgar. Thank you guys for sticking around up to this point. We did it, boys. The main event. Pedro, the young Punisher Munhoz. Man, they're going to have to change him to the middle-aged Punisher pretty soon. Dude is almost 34 years old. Against Frankie, the answer, the legend, Edgar, in his bantamweight debut. So Pedro Munhoz, 18-4, really good record. Frankie, 23-8. Both guys coming off L's, though. We got 1 loss for Munhoz and 2 L's for Frankie. Is Frankie done? I don't know, but I'm gonna tell you this: he's a 39-year-old bantamweight. I bet you can count how many 39-year-old bantamweights there are on one hand, because I'm not sure if there are more than that. You know what I'm saying? Holy cow, Frankie, you really took your time getting down to these weight classes that you might have done better, 5 or 6 years ago when they were brought into the UFC. But can you argue with a guy who used to be the lightweight champion and honestly had a pretty good title reign? It's tough to. My God, this guy is the heart of a lion. I'm a Frankie Edgar fan. Back in the day, Frankie Edgar was truly my favorite fighter. So, Pedro Munhoz, minus 235. Pretty good favorite here, man. And I think that probably makes sense all in all. Training out of Coconut Creek, Florida, Black House MMA. He is, like I said, 34 though, man. 5'6". Here's what's crazy is, so both guys are 5'6". Frankie Edgar, he's the size of a bantamweight, Here's what's crazy, though. Munhoz, 65-inch reach. Frankie Edgar, 72. My man Frankie got some arms on him. Either that or Pedro Munhoz got the T-Rex arms. 65-inch reach. That is not a good reach. So let's get into it, man. What has Pedro done? He's done a lot, man. He's looked pretty good recently. I mean, even in a loss to Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling is on a fire right now, guys. So, knocks out Cody Garbrandt. Take what you will from that. I mean, an impressive win, but if you can trick Cody Garbrandt into standing in the pocket and trading, that's not a super unlikely outcome. Gets a win over Brian Caraway, finishes him in the first round. Pretty good win, pretty solid guy. Win over Brett Johns, another guy that I like quite a bit. 15-1 at the time. It's a good win. Split decision, lost to John Dodson. So one judge even thought Munhoz beat Dodson there. That's all the way back 2 years ago. Win over Rob Font. Rob Font, very good. Win over Damian Stasiak, a guy who was 10-3. Justin Scoggins, not a bad fighter. Win over Russell Doan. Split decision loss to Jimmy Rivera, a fight that he barely lost. We're all the way 5 years ago now. And then a loss to Rafael Asunciao. I mean, look at the losses on this guy's record. I mean, we're talking Rafael Asunciao in 2014, like peak Asunciao, so really good. Jimmy Rivera in 2015, really good, a guy who only had 1 loss at the point. John Dodson in 2018, seasoned veteran, a guy who's still around, still okay. And Aljamain Sterling, and then look at the wins. names, good fighters. This fight really breaks down to what do you think you're getting out of bantamweight 39-year-old Frankie Edgar? And the answer to that question, I'm not so sure, man. It's going to be another step down. Is the weight cut going to affect Frankie? He's old. He's as old as it gets. You know what I mean? Is it going to be too hard on him? I mean, he's not big. It's not like he's going to be one of these guys who's like stretching to get down to 135. But look at what we got going on here, man. So knocked out by the Korean Zombie in the first round. Oh, not good. But the Korean Zombie is freaking awesome. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a bad loss, really. A loss to Max Holloway. I mean, Max Holloway, let's keep it real. This guy's fighting the best of the best. Win over Cub Swanson, who's still very good, 2018. Lost to Brian Ortega, but that's the big problem, man. I mean, he's lost 3 of his last 4, but that's to Brian Ortega, title challenger, Max Holloway, champion, and Korean Zombie, potential title challenger, future champion, potentially. You know what I'm saying? So he's losing, but to the best of the best, right? I mean, check this out. 2017, win over Yair Rodríguez. That's a good win. Win over Jeremy Stevens. That's a good win. Lost to Jose Aldo, former champion. Win over Chad Mendez. Knocks him out first round. Now we're 5 years back, but Uriah Faber, Cub Swanson again. BJ Penn, dude, Bronx. Who are these L's to? Aldo, champion. Benson Henderson, split decision loss in a title fight. Champion. Benson Henderson, champion. I mean, and then we go back, Gray Maynard, title challenger. I mean, Frankie Edgar loses to champions or championship level opposition, and that is it. Is Pedro Munhoz on that level? I'm going to say no, but are we getting that same Frankie Edgar? Again, I'm going to say no. Tough fight to gauge, man. Tough fight to get a read. Are we going to see a rejuvenated Frankie Edgar at bantamweight? We could. Frankie Edgar could look great. Is it often we see a 39-year-old guy go down a weight class and go, uh-oh, buckle up, boys. We got something here. Wait till this guy turns 42 and has a few years at bantam. I mean, it's now or never, Frankie Edgar. And I hate to say it, he loses this fight. This could be the last we see of Frankie Edgar. Let's look at the line. So we know Pedro Munhoz, heavy favorite. I mean, he's up to, on some books, the minus 250, so he's still taking action, Munhoz. And it's kind of hard to disagree with it. He opens up at a minus 240. We're pretty much right there. So a touch of money's come in on Munhoz. He's become the even deeper favorite, but not by anything really at all. This is going to be one of those fights, man. I don't expect to see much line movement. Maybe you see, I mean, Frankie Edgar has the name value here, has the attractiveness to the casual fans, just because the more casual, the less hardcore knows who Frankie Edgar is. They don't really know who Pedro Munhoz is. You kind of got to be, following the sport to have a solid read on what Pedro Munhoz is and understand the resume, what Pedro Munhoz has done. You know what I'm saying? So there is a chance that Frankie does take money just because they got the name value. And I expect we see a little bit of that. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if sharp money continues to hit Pedro Munhoz as a minus 250 favorite. Really tough. I think if you're on Frankie Edgar, you're not going to get much better than where he sits right now at a plus 170, plus 175, even plus 180 range. If you think the answer has an answer for Pedro Munhoz, I advise you to place that bet probably sooner than later. I don't see Frankie getting much more disrespected than he is right now. And like I said, name value, the more casual fan, I think they're probably going to be willing to take that name they know, that former champion, a guy who they've seen with UFC Gold as a heavy underdog. How you take Frankie, though, how you come up with an argument on why you should be taking Frankie Edgar, stylistically speaking, it's just really tough. Man, I don't know. I feel like this line's probably where it should be at based on what we've seen as of late. But skill for skill, does Frankie Edgar have the ability to win this fight? I think he does, man. If Frankie Edgar fights a really smart fight, I think he can win this fight. However, I don't disagree with the line much. I really don't. I think Frankie Edgar, I would feel more comfortable with Pedro Munhoz like more like a minus 200. Which I guess, in my mind, means that there's inherently value on Frankie Edgar. Man, am I tempting myself here? I don't know. I got to watch the tape, guys. Yeah, it's a tough one to call, but I don't have a problem with Pedro Munhoz being the favorite. You just look at Frankie Edgar. I mean, we looked, he's lost more than he's won recently. It just doesn't look good. 39 years old. Tons of red flags in almost every area. It probably makes sense where Pedro Munhoz is right now. Yeah, so there you go, boys. We did it. We got it. That's it. That's the card. So, UFC Vegas 7, Pedro Munhoz versus Frankie Edgar. Thank you guys for watching, man. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to hit that thumbs up. And when you're done, head over to Just Bleed MMA. Hit that subscribe. I will have my final picks and predictions. Probably a couple bets to throw your way on Friday after the weigh-ins. Be there. Tune in. Just Bleed MMA, Odds HQ and odds.com. Thank you guys for watching. I am out of here, dudes.